Good evening. Welcome again to another night and another episode of Shrink Wrapped, where we talk about everything with mental health. With our guests, we talk about their lifestyles, what they're doing, what they're up to. Tonight is going to be so fun. We've had our dry run. Was going to test our Skype, and we've been on Skype now for an hour. So this should tell you kind of like what's going to happen when we start kind of talking with each other tonight on here. I've known this gentleman for quite some time. The more I've known him, the more I've loved him. He's a great friend of mine. I'm excited for you to hear what he's up to, about what God's doing in his life, what he's done for the mental health field, what he's done to recreate maybe some of his lifestyle over the last couple of years, and how that's just been blessed and he's taken off with that. He is also, for all you people who might be watching from Mary Hardin Baylor, he is a fellow Mary Hardin Baylor, so that's going to be fun. And if we have any mutual connections that we know, I can't guarantee you that we may not talk about you a little bit. Just hang on for that. We'll see whose names come up, because we've already had a couple come up already in the evening. So again, I just want to welcome tonight my friend Skeeta Jenkins. Skeeta, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be on here with you, fellow brother.
Yes.
I love as well, so I can't wait to chat with you.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time. You know, it's like I told everybody before you joined me here. You know, we've been on the Skype call here for about 45 minutes to an hour already. So I guess we'll just have to repeat some of what we've talked about, and I'm sure it's a good skeleton of what we're going to get into. I'm sure. But one of the things I think I always enjoy talking about with people who chime in and who will listen to this later as we rebroadcast is how I know the people I bring on. You know, and you and I have known each other for quite some time. I can't even remember exactly how long. I did that with somebody else, how long I knew them, and they were like, "You're not supposed to be telling my age." So, so I've known Skeeta for just a little over a couple of days, and a little over, what is it, a whole minute we said earlier. And we met each other at Mary Hardin Baylor. What? How long?
It's over 10 years.
It is over 10 years. It might be over 20. I don't know.
Ooh, that's good.
I don't know. I don't quite know.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close. But we met at Mary Hardin Baylor. We're both UMHB alum. I'm an alum times 2. I think that you might be an alum times 2. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I know. Right. So, I mean, you know, good people come out of Mary Hardin Baylor. What can we say?
That's right.
Yeah, no, you know, it was a good place. Tell us a little bit about your experience and how you got to Mary Hardin Baylor, because I know you're from Louisiana. You're a Louisianan. I got cousins in Louisiana, by the way. Yeah, so tell us how you got here.
I skipped Texas to go play football in New Mexico. So I was on a scholarship in New Mexico. I'm a grandma's boy. So my grandmother passed away. My mom is the youngest of 20 children. All of them, some of them made it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but totally she had 20 children. My mom never worked till this day, never drove a car, don't own the driver's license, and my grandmother made sure the older siblings took care of my mom. So I was a little worried about my mom when my grandmother passed away, and so I said I was going to transfer, and my roommate happens to be from Killeen, Texas, of all places.
All places, right?
And he was transferring.
I see.
And he said, "Hey, just drive to Killeen with me." And then on the drive, he said, "Hey, you need to go to this little school, Mary Hardin Baylor." I said, "Man, I never heard of no Mary Hardin Baylor."
Exactly. Arbelt. Mary what?
Yeah, Arbelton, Texas.
Right.
Make a long story short, I stepped on campus, and it was like the good Lord say, "This is where you need to be."
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Because that is exactly the way I felt. You know, when I came to Mary Hardin Baylor, I had never heard of it either. In fact, I had never heard of Belton. And I was dead set on going to Baylor. We are Baylor people. We're Baylor people through and through. You know, My aunt worked there my entire life. I grew up on that campus. In fact, I used to go stay with, when I was like 3 and 4 and 5 years old, I would go stay with her in her dormitory. She was a dorm parent. And I would go stay with her in the dorms. And so I literally, when I say grew up on Baylor campus, I really kind of did, going to meet with my aunt. My dad's a graduate from there. And so Baylor was always a really big place for us. However, we had somebody that we knew in Fairfield, Texas, where I was where I graduated from high school. Rebecca O'Banion, Rebecca.
Yes.
And so Rebecca and I graduated together. We went to school together. And one of our friends knew Bobby Parker, who was the president of the Mary Baylor at the time. And so he wanted us to go and just tour and check out this university that his friend was the president. So Rebecca and I did, and we came to Mary Hardin Baylor, and just like you said, at the minute I stepped on the campus, I was like, I felt at home. I was like, okay, this is kind of like where I need to be. And we came. Rebecca and I both came that year, I think in '89. So, well, I guess I just said how long I've been there. We came in '89. So Rebecca O'Banion, if you're watching this tonight, everybody knows that you came to college in 1989. We're not going to say how old you are.
Next time I see her,
you're gonna tell her.
Hey, Fairfield, Texas.
Yeah. You got to put that R in there, man. Fairfield, Texas.
Fairfield.
Yeah, Fairfield. I never could do that really, but yeah. So we came, and you're right. It's just when you walk on campus, you just know you're at home. And my two girls now are there. I met my wife there. So it's like we're really connected. Yeah.
My wife graduated from there too.
See, there you go. It's a meant to be thing, right? So if you want to go to find your spouse, go to Mary Hardin Baylor.
Hey, that's good. See, we put the plug in. They didn't even know it.
They didn't even know it, and they're not paying me for it. I promise.
Me neither.
Yeah. So you studied at Mary Hardin Baylor, and we were just talking right before we came, live, of a time that you remember. Of me there, and how I don't think it's not how you met me, but it's I don't know, just share the memory because it's kind of funny.
You were at this, I forgot what we called the day, but all the seniors who were getting ready to graduate, you came and did a presentation, and several other people on the panel you talked about the business side, you talked about what it was going to take to you just talked about the profession of counseling and all the things, all the intricacies that it took to run a business. And I think it opened a lot of people's eyes because, the professors cover stuff in the book, but what you covered, we talked in class and people were like, we just need to have somebody every semester just come and talk about how to start a business, how to run a business. So I think it opened the window, especially for those I was graduating with, and that was 2008. Those I was graduating with.
That's
amazing. Opened the window for people to want to go start their own business. So that was awesome.
Well, very cool.
You probably didn't even know you did that, but when we got back to class, we had a little round robin and talked about it, and they was like, we should have had this a long time ago. We learned this stuff in the book, but what Jason said is, how do you run a business from a person who runs it? So it made a difference.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. In this, I think I had that opportunity with somebody, whenever I was going through school, and had an opportunity to talk to some people about, what it was like to run a business, what it was like to be in private practice. And some of the things that, people told me all the time is like, you can be the best therapist in the world, but if you're not a business person, you will never make it in private practice. Because it is running a business, and that's hard for people, I think, like us, because you did go on and get your marriage and family therapy licensure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of know people like us, we tend to help people, and we tend to want to be nice to people. We tend to want to, and so sometimes that makes it very hard to make a business decision. And so you have to be able to separate the two, and that's pretty difficult. Yeah, and so I'm thinking about that now. Skeeta, so tell me, what I think that was in Raylene's class. It was in Raylene Stotts, Dr. Raylene Stotts, who was my LPC supervisor when I was getting my postgraduate internship and stuff completed. So I remember that class now, and it was actually Tammy Corrales that came with me that class. Do you remember? I now remember the specific time you're talking about. I think it was Tammy Corrales. So Tammy, if you're watching, let me know. Was it you, or am I just not remembering correctly? It was 2008.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've gone on, Skeeta, and you've done some things in your career as a marriage and family guy. You have a degree in marriage and family counseling from the
Hmm.
university, and
I work
you,
for a foster care adoption agency. I've done that for 20 years now, believe it or not.
yeah, no, that's
About 20 years.
that's crazy, right? 20
Yeah.
years. Yeah, so we have known each other about 45 years.
I even have a daughter. I still can't believe it till this day. I have a daughter that's a sophomore. And that sounds crazy just even saying it. But you
Sophomore.
have two daughters in college. So that, I mean, just
Thanks
the
for bringing
thought
that
of
up.
saying
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
it is. It's crazy.
I
Michelle, my
remember when your
wife.
daughter was a I remember when your daughter was a junior in high school. Now she's in college.
Exactly, mate. She is
That's
actually.
crazy.
My oldest is a senior this year in college. He'll be graduating hopefully in May, provided all of the, with COVID and student
Yeah.
teaching, and hopefully all that will kind of come into line. And then my youngest daughter just started there as a freshman, so
I know.
both of
That's
my daughters
awesome.
and all of our money is going to Mahern Baylor now. But I will say they are wonderful about making it work and making it possible for
Yes.
people to go get their education, with scholarships and grants. And I can't say enough good things about the university, and I'm really not saying that for them to throw more money at scholarships.
Yeah.
I'm just being very truthful. It's a family. You know what I'm talking
No,
about?
I agree. I'm grooming my girls already.
Yeah.
They don't know it, but they going to school there. I mean, I'm grooming them.
Well,
So
I asked mine where they wanted to go. Did they want to go to Mary Hardin Baylor, or did they want to go to University of Mary Hardin Baylor, or did they want to go to Mary Hardin Baylor? It just which one of those options,
yeah,
But I didn't have to talk very hard. They both decided on their own.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you worked 20 years with the adoption services.
Hmm.
So that's taking
Still
you
doing
from
it.
and
Still
still
doing
doing
it.
it. So
It's
you do that in Central Texas area, right?
yes, sir. It's
Hmm.
in the. We had an office in Temple, but now we're in. We had two offices in one region, so we just merged them. We're now in Round Rock.
Oh, I see. So you drive that direction to work.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
once a week, and I work from home most of the time.
Yes. So have
Yes,
you?
sir.
So you've been doing that even before COVID.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
so your life, as far as work, didn't change much. So let's talk a little bit about that and kind of like what this is crazy times we're living in, right? And
Yes.
one of the things that you do that I love, and I look for it every day when I get up, is always in my Facebook feed, which is one of the reasons I stay on this platform of Facebook, because of positivity that you bring. But you do this thing called Ready to Make a Difference. And
Yes.
I love that. Can you talk about a little bit about what you do and the idea that came about in this Ready to Make a Difference that you started years ago, I think.
I started like in '05, '06, and one of the things I've discovered in the world that the minute you turn on the TV, you can start the day with this positive mindset. I do my quiet time, I do my scripture memory, and then I turn on the TV. Then all of a sudden, I see all of this negative stuff, and it just changes your mood. And I'm like,
Yes.
I can't get caught in this trap. So what I
Right.
started to do is, from this day forward, and I wrote it down, and I go
Mhm.
back and look at it when I do my reflection time, and I wrote it down and say, you know what, I'm gonna look for ways to make a difference today, and
That's
then that's how
beautiful.
that little quote started.
You know,
Ready to make a difference today.
today, and I love that concept of it, because as a fellow mental health provider, which is really cool to be able to talk to you as another provider, we know that sometimes even a day is hard to wrap your
Yes,
mind around. And so if you
yeah,
think, oh, I need to make a difference, and how can I make a difference, it can become very overwhelming for someone particularly if they're depressed or they have anxiety or any of those types of conditions that is so oppressive anyway. And so
yes.
if you could, what can you do today to make a
Today,
difference, was just beautiful. Talk
and
about,
that's the key word.
yeah, it is a keyword. Today. What can I do today? Not tomorrow, because it's not come yet. We can't worry about yesterday because it's already passed.
That's
Today,
right.
what can we do? Talk about that. Talk about in your mind when you formulate that. how do you come up with a new thing every day? I mean, and you've been doing it every day for like how long? 2 years.
Yeah, it's been since '06, so it's been a minute.
Oh man, oh six.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I do is I think usually during the weekend I take a lot of walks, and I just ask the Lord to pour stuff in me, whether it's a thought, whether it's a word, and then and then I was like, well, I can't just say it. I need to go out and show it. So if I'm in a grocery store and
Mm.
I don't have a lot of money, but if I see someone who leave their wallet in the car and I'm behind them, I make sure, hey, I'll pay for theirs and don't tell
Mm.
them I did it. If I see military people out while we eating, I just tell them, hey, if they paid for their food already, I'll get the tip. It's just doing the little things. See, and the scripture
That's
reminds
right.
us that if
That's
we're
right.
faithful in what is least, we'll be faithful when the good Lord gives us the big things. And I paraphrased it, but that's basically what it said. If
Yeah.
you're
No,
faithful
that's
in the
beautiful.
little things, you'll be
Yeah.
faithful also in much. And so I just look for different ways to make a difference. Like when
Right.
we, Pastor Gary taught me this, just instilled this beautiful thing in when you go out to a restaurant, ask right before we say our blessing, I ask the waiter, hey, is there anything I can pray for you about? And people cry. And you're like, oh my goodness, why are you crying? Because nobody does this kind of stuff.
No, and
I
I think why they cry too is it's like they're surprised that somebody even cares to ask.
Yes,
You know, it
yes,
just like that connection that
yes.
what they may have not had anybody ask them that
You,
ever. You know, but for
you're so
sure maybe.
true.
You know, but sure, maybe that day, or because most people are complaining about their food.
Yeah,
They don't think about how can I pray for you, how can I help you.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
and
beautiful.
and last little example, I went to Best Buy in Round Rock. I was looking for a drone,
Hmm.
and this elderly lady was there with the cashier, and
Hmm.
she was just struggling. You can tell.
Yeah,
But this cashier was so patient with her, and so, ma'am, how can I help? Just so calm with her. And it come to find out the lady was in the wrong store looking for her stuff in Best Buy.
uh,
So so after the lady figured out she was in the wrong store, I asked the cashier, I said, could you call your manager? Well, guess what she thought? I was about to complain
yeah,
on her.
yeah,
And I just told her in front of the manager, I said, hey, I just stood here for 15 minutes and watched your cashier show what it truly means to be a cashier.
yes,
She was patient with this elderly lady. She didn't raise her voice. And the girl
yeah.
is in the background crying. I didn't do it to make her cry. I did it to bring positivity.
To bring
And
positivity
first,
and
the first
recognition.
word, yeah, and the first words out of the manager's mouth was, "Man, I've been doing this for 15 years, and nobody has ever told me anything good that any of my employees did. They
Isn't
always
that
talk about what they
something?
don't do." You know what I mean? So
I
it's
do know what you
it's
mean, and
finding ways. Yeah.
that reminds me of a story that when my wife and I, when Michelle and I and the girls, we were in New York City, and we were at the M&M. We were at M&M, right down in Midtown, right there at Times Square, and we were in the store. We had got some things, and of course it was around the Christmas time. So like I think everybody in America and the rest of the country were in New York City in downtown that time. So it was like
Yeah.
really really busy, and they had this big long line, and there was some people right in front of us that were obviously from another country. They didn't speak English hardly at all. Well, when they got up to the cash register to check out, there was something they forgot, or they had to get something, or whatever the case might be, and the person behind the cash register was really kind of not being very nice about it, and was the woman was trying to explain she couldn't speak the language, and so it just dawned on me that this woman she just needed to go over here and ask for her purse from her husband or something.
Wow.
The lady behind the counter wanted them to. They said, "Fine, go do it," but they wanted to get into the back of the line to wait another hour to check out. And so I was like, "No, I don't mind waiting." And the lady behind the cash register says, "No, no, 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 you just come on. We got a line behind you." I'm like, "No, you really don't understand. I don't mind waiting 30 seconds for her to go get her purse from her husband."
Yeah.
Well, then the lady behind me kind of caught on what was going on, and she says, "Oh yeah, no, we'll wait." The lady behind her, no, wait. Would you believe that the person behind the register got angry with us and was trying to get
serious?
people 5 and 6 people behind to come up and move the line, but everybody was like, "We're going to wait 30 seconds for this woman to get her purse to give you the money." Anyway, the
Yes.
manager then came over, and the manager saw what was going on and was very appreciative that a lot of us in the line were going to wait. And I think that I had forgotten about that until you started talking about this story. But I think that if we can do those kinds of things, that's such a small thing that we can do just to wait, or just like you say, to give that person the kudos, for lack of a better word, that
Yes.
they deserve. Man, that made that girl's day when she could go
And,
home and
and, and,
say,
and think about it. What you did for that lady who went and got her purse, especially if she had a husband and her kids with her,
"Yeah,
they may have been having the worst day ever, but just
right,
that little interaction
right.
could have been, honey, I told you there's some good in the world still. You know what I
Yeah,"
mean?
and I wanted them to know that there's good in New York. I mean, that
Yes.
wasn't a typical thing. I mean, New Yorkers are so caring, and people don't think about that. But I wanted her to leave that store knowing that there are good people, like you say, in the world, and
Yes.
that New York City is a welcoming place for everyone.
Yes.
And my goodness, we can wait 30 seconds.
Bella.
Yeah, my hot chocolate got cold, but oh well, whatever. It's a third world problem. My hot chocolate got cold.
That's funny.
Or first world. But anyway, so I love the idea that this whole ready to make a difference thing that you do. And I think there's some other quotes that you said that I told you earlier that I've stolen off your Facebook page. But one is,
Still,
be careful of what you say because those words will find you. Speak to that. I love that.
well, I know being in the mental health profession, you're gonna love it. I think it's that negativity of once you speak something and you keep speaking it. Like for instance, if I tell my kids, "You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this," I tell it to them so long they start to believe it, and when they don't even try to do it, then I'm getting mad. Well, I just told you you can't do it, and then
Mm.
all of a sudden, so basically, when you give yourself that negative tape over and over, self defeat and thoughts, don't be surprised when those thoughts come find you and you
Right.
find yourself can't do this, or you never could do that, or you can't do this.
Yeah, in the mental health world, we call that self-fulfilling prophecy. You know,
Yes.
if
Bella.
you say you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. And when you have that kind of mental talk, and
Mhm.
that's your internal monologue that you've got going on. Boy, it's hard to break outside of that box. How do you encourage people to do
Georgia.
that?
Um, just being just a natural encourager when
Hmm.
pointing out stuff when you see it, um, pointing it out. Like one of the things I for the past 3 or 4 years I've been doing with they call it character coach for Temple football team,
Hmm.
and it's just truly getting into the lives of these young people and let them know there are people out there who care, and it was
Right.
like, you doing this for free? Yeah. The Everything in life is not about making a penny or some
Yeah,
money for it.
you're right.
Sometimes you just got to put yourself out there. Bella, bring me a extension cord, and do things for people without expecting anything in
Yeah.
return. And I think the good Lord blesses that.
Yeah, it's funny, like how many people get so surprised when you want to do something for free. It's like they don't understand that concept. They're
Yeah.
like, are you kidding? Yeah. So for example, there's people who come into therapy sometimes and their insurance changes, and they're worried that they're going to have to find somebody else because I'm not on that insurance panel. I've I've had I don't know, 2 month, 6 month, sometimes 8 month relationship with these people, and I always tell them that it's not about the money at this point. If your insurance doesn't cover it, just pay what you can, and I'm okay with that. And people don't quite know what to do when they hear it. Because this really, the relationship is more important. The relationship you're giving those boys on that football team is
Yeah.
way more important than anything
Yes.
that anybody could give to you financially.
E-
You're making
exactly.
you're
And
making a
and I
difference.
think you have that servant's heart. You know, the good Lord said, I didn't come to be served, but to serve.
Right.
And I think as long as you have that heart inside of you, the other things he's gonna bring to you,
Hmm.
that client, he probably send you something else that you know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
just
Right.
we just have to be patient with
And open. We have to be patient, and we
yes.
have to be open for that. And there's sometimes, we'll be honest. I mean, there's sometimes that I don't know if I'm very open to that because of whatever's going on in my life. But the minute that happens is the minute that I run into like you, or I run into somebody else that is a constant reminder of exactly what you're talking about, ready to make a difference. I'm
Mm,
going to be that natural encourager, and I'm thinking, you know what, it's inspiring to me. And so I appreciate that in you, and I know so many people appreciate that in you, because that's when we see your face, we don't see you. We see your soul when we look into your eyes, and that natural encourager, that giving spirit, that just 100% empathetic person who can just see the good in people is what we get. It's what we
yeah.
get.
And,
So I
and
appreciate
I think
appreciate your stance on that.
the crazy part is sometimes you can get taken advantage of and people say, well,
Right.
why do you keep doing it? That's just part of life.
Right.
You're gonna find people that try to find a loophole and take advantage of stuff,
Hmm.
but you can't stop being who the good Lord called you to be.
It's
And
right.
I,
You're right. So they take advantage of you. Well, okay, I know that.
yeah,
I know that, but it isn't it good that they can encounter somebody who can give them that unconditional regard
yes,
and not judge them for that either.
yes,
That
yes,
sometimes speaks louder than us confronting them on it, because they'll go back, and then that's where you plant that little seed, and then they go home, and God goes to work.
he really
He
does.
never rests anyway, but then he really can go to work there, and it speaks to them. They begin to have that remorse. They begin to see the error of their own ways, and
Yes,
I think it's important for us to stay in that mindset. I don't always do it. I mean, by all means, I don't always do it, but
I don't.
it's
I
important for
fall
us to be
too.
there.
That's just the human side of us. I fall, but
Right?
I repent and go at it again.
Yes. Sandy Patty has a song that I love. It is called "Falling Forward," and I love that
Wow,
concept. Like whenever I fall, at least I'm falling forward,
that's
because then I
good.
can pay. Isn't
That's
that
good.
beautiful? Yeah, no, I love that. You do a lot of things. So we talked about your mental health career, and a lot of people who know you know that you work for, I guess it's a private estate, but you work for the adoption
Profit. Uh huh.
private. Some people may know, but some people may not know. Dude, you're an actor. You've done all kinds of things creatively. And I think you and I were talking about it right before we came on about how many films. I said, hey, Skeeta, how many things have you done? And I was in my mind thinking that maybe 25 or 30. Um, I tell them how many you've done.
I've done four. If you look at IMDb, it'll say 48, but it's about a
48.
couple more than that people haven't
Right.
posted on IMDb yet.
Yeah,
But no,
that's amazing.
it's been fun.
That's amazing, right? How did you get into it? Tell the listeners how you got into acting.
If the listeners are familiar with the Green Mile, which is that movie with Tom Hanks and big old Michael Clark Duncan,
Yeah, which people
it,
think that's you.
yes, he passed away about 6.5 years ago. And the day he passed away, they were doing a they were he was in the process of doing a movie, and the director of that film thought he and I resemble and kind of sound like, and they cast me in
Yeah.
a cameo role as him. So I was like, I mean, to take his place.
Yeah.
And I
And I
went on
don't
the
know what in
movies.
the world they were thinking, Skeeter. You don't, dude. I tell you, a lot of people when I talk about Skeeta Jenkins and what you're doing, and people see your picture, they're like, "Oh, was he in the Green Mile?"
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I didn't know that story. That's really cool,
Yes.
actually. Yeah,
And
it's too
and
funny.
and Diane Howard, she
I
had a
yeah, I
big
love
part in.
Diane Howard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Dr. Howard had a big part in the infancy, well, helping develop this career that has taken off.
it's taken off. Yeah, it's taken
Yeah.
off. I can't keep up with it, actually. I mean, it's every time I see you doing something different, and I think that's just encouraging. And you've done all kinds of things. It's not just and this is what I think is really really cool for people here too. It's not that you've gone into a lot of the stuff that you've done as Christian roles or
Yes,
as a Christian movie, but
that's right.
you've gone into that industry as a Christian, and
Thank you.
that's incredible. I mean, it's how you're not afraid to go where God's
No.
taken you. Number one, and the light that you can be in an industry that's
Yes.
sometimes dark, not always. So there's a lot of great things that happen, but can be kind of dark and competitive. How do you maintain just that sense of positivity? Because this is about positive mental health. How do you maintain that positive mental health going into those kinds of places that's so competitive, so dark sometimes, but yet still come out and being like this beacon of light for people?
I think it's what you were talking about, being self-aware, knowing who I am as a person, regardless of what's going on around me.
Right.
And I go in with the second commandment. That is my big thing when I'm on the movie set. Treat other people like I want to be treated. I don't
Absolutely.
hit I don't hit anyone in the head with the fact that I'm a Christian, because it's going to show in something.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Tom Lennon. A lot of people know him. He's a big time comedian, actor, one of the coolest people
Mm-hmm.
I ever met. Him and Barbara Crampton. People
Mm-hmm.
will know him, but on the movie set, it's loving on people who are even A-list and who are A-list actors, loving on them as well, and hearing them say that's something different about you.
Yeah.
Now, when you say there's something different about me, you open up for me to
Yeah.
tell you
Yeah.
what's
What is
different about
different?
me.
Yeah.
But until then, I won't tell you what it is, and it's just and they can see it. It's my love for the Lord. I don't tell them.
Right.
I don't judge them. Just like your therapy room, non-judgmental, and
Right.
you'll be surprised how people just put their walls down and
Right.
share a piece of them with you, and you're like, man, I just known you for 10 minutes, and now you're telling me your life story.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it's
when you're like that and you're loving on that person,
yes,
you're validating that person for who they are, what they are, where they are, all of that. And sometimes that's almost foreign for even them to understand themselves because they're not in a place that they can even love themselves yet. And so just
hmm
that open regard and that genuine regard that you give to them, there's such a therapeutic. So you're not only doing just being nice. You're being therapeutic to them. You're giving them that unconditional regard. You're
yes,
giving them what I like to say, you're giving them the experience of Christianity because you're showing them relationship. And mate, that's what Christianity is all about, right? The relationship that we have with Christ.
that's it,
It's not about a religion. And so
that's
you're
it.
not going in and preaching at them at all. You're offering them basically Christianity on a plate.
Yep.
That's
And
beautiful.
I know you heard this saying that you may be the only Christian that I mean, you may be the only example of Christ that some people see. And
Right.
not saying Tom Lennon or Barbara Crampton
No, not at
don't
all.
believe in the Lord,
Not
but
at all.
just just loving on people on the movie set, regardless of whether you're an extra or you are the top actor, is just loving on them. And I
Right.
think that's what God calls us to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely is what God calls us to do. And then you go and you do that, and then you share it, and then they want a piece of that, right?
Yeah.
They want a piece of
Yes.
that. And they may never make a public profession of faith, but yet at least they've had that opportunity through your witness to experience what it's like.
Exactly.
Is what it's like, and that's beautiful. I mean, I think that I'd love to see a lot of people do that and do it that way. Other ways are fine too, but that I think is so genuine, and I think Skeeta, that's what's so endearing about you for a lot of people is that you're just a genuine person. You just come across that way because that's just what you are. And that's the beauty behind it. Yeah. So 48 films. You've got a couple that I want to talk about. You're on Amazon Prime.
Yes, sir.
Some of your films are on Netflix. So
Yes.
so guys, when we talk about hey, this guy's an actor, he's in movies. I'm not talking about things that you only see like in on grandma's home videos. I mean, these are like real legit things. You're a real legit actor, man. So let's talk about some of the things that you've done. Tell me about The Penitent Thief. I know it's one of your favorites that you've done.
Yes, I
So talk
love the
about that.
penitent. I love the penitent thief because of the story. The
Hmm.
story is about how the two thieves got on the cross with Jesus,
Wow.
and it's an amazing, heart wrenching story. I play one of the wise men,
Mm-hmm.
So, without giving the movie away, there's a point in the movie where I'm announcing the birth, announcing the coming one, the birth. We're anointing him with gold and myrrh and incense. And then there's another part in the movie where the thieves are beating the crap out of me. but it's the story of
Hey, I
how
wanted
they
to be in
got,
that movie.
yeah, how they got to the cross.
Yeah,
And it's a beautiful story though
yeah,
of redemption, forgiveness,
that's
and
beautiful.
of how I just can't wait for people to see it. It was supposed to come out in August,
Uh-huh.
but it's probably gonna come out in October, November, December somewhere, and it'll be on video on demand.
Yeah, that'll be great. And a great time for it to come out too. Honestly,
Yes,
I do believe that everything is in God's timing. And when we
that's
start
right.
getting into those types, that type of the year, and that time of the year where people are the sun's going down, we're inside watching movies, and it's beautiful. We think of the Christmas story around the Christmas time, but
Yeah,
we don't hear the rest of the story about the salvation and Christ dying for our sins. I mean, that's the whole point. He was born to begin with, and so
that's true.
I kind of like bringing it all back around. The other one you did is called Angel Whispers.
I love that one. Angel Whispers is a story almost. I'm trying to tell it without giving it away. I played this former Marine on a. I love where we shot at. We shot the film in North Carolina
Oh
on
yeah,
this ranch. So I had. Uh,
they had some good buttermilk biscuits there. I bet.
oh yeah.
So it's my
The,
favorite thing actually.
the house when you see the film, the house we shot in, it's an ex. He served in the Senate or the House for a long time, but he had an old ranch house with
Wow.
books and just it was beautiful house. And then he had a stable outside with some horses,
Mm-hmm.
so it was an amazing place to shoot. But my character is a former Marine, and it's a really touching story. And that's what I'm saying. These life lessons, it has something to do with adoption. So it was even more special to
Yeah,
me, the story. So it was pretty neat.
yeah. You pour your heart and soul to that one. I mean, it's
Yes.
got a special meaning. The other one, Prisoner Song, is another one that you've done.
Prisoner Song, I played this prisoner who just had got out of prison, but he was still in prison.
Oh yeah.
So
Wow.
uh, he never made the transition from prison life to civilian life, and then some of those stereotypes of people treated him like he still was in prison. It was probably one of the most rawest emotion I had
Mm-hmm.
to get to because there was my character had to cry, and
Mm-hmm.
it just took me to places that as an actor, sometimes you have to stretch yourself, and this
Yeah.
film really
It really stretched
stretched me
itself.
to the point of pulling up some emotions from a place that I hadn't touched before.
Do you know what's beautiful about that is how life can how let me how can I say this? A friend of mine, and who's I'm going to interview her on here eventually, and her name is Carol Meyer Willingham, and she's a singer, and she's also a therapist, and we are always talking about how life and how theater, how movies kind of mimic or kind of mirror our life experiences, right?
Oh
And
yes,
how we can watch something on the screen and how we can experience something on the stage and we can watch it and it's far enough removed from out of us to where we connect with it on a different level, we understand,
yes.
but yet it does something in our thinking. And that particular movie, Prisoner Song, it kind of reminds me of kind of what happens in our own life when we become prisoner
Ooh,
to whatever it is that we're going through in life, whether
that's
it's
good.
addiction or whether it's, whatever the case might be. We can behaviorally get out of that. But if we're not emotionally out of that, and if we're not
Mm,
cognitively out of that, we remain prisoners in our own behavior forever. I mean,
that's good.
it's like you got to change all of it. And so those kinds of movies sometimes are really fun for me because there's such an in depth meaning behind them. Where it's like a story within a story. People
And
walk out.
I'll send you a link to watch it.
Yes, please.
It's about 12 minutes, but it's just
Yes.
raw. So
Do you
just be
know?
ready.
I want to. Yes, please send it. The last one I want to talk about is Vindication. Tell me about that.
Vindication is one of the first TV series I've did. It's on Amazon Prime. I'm in season 8, I think, 7 or 8. I mean episode 7 or 8, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just a story. It's a drama, cop drama, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a faith based drama. But we don't tell people up front that it's a faith based drama because it tackles trafficking. It tackles all of
Real
the
life
stuff.
issues.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it tackles it without language. It tackles it uh without sex scenes. It tackles it,
Yeah.
and the reviews from it just blew the director. It just blew it off the roof because
Yeah.
we didn't expect that warm welcome, and I
Right.
think people are yearning for
People
just
want that.
content they can watch.
Yes, yes. I think that speaks a lot. With the reviews and results you're getting of what I think we want in on our television now. When you turn it on, you and I've talked about this earlier as well. No matter what you do, when you turn on the television, it's either something negative or something we don't want to
Yeah,
hear, or something we don't want to see, and man, it's just getting to the point to where we don't even hardly turn the television on in our house unless we're watching a movie. It's just, and then it's just, Michelle and I'll be flipping. We're empty nesters, so we'll be flipping the TV of what movie to watch, and after about, I don't know, 20 minutes of just going through movie after movie after movie, we're like, you want to just go to bed?
yeah.
It's like, so now I have a list. I'm gonna go all through all your 48 movies that might last us until a couple of years. We might have some viewing to do.
A couple of them you may question why I was in them, but you know me, so you'll know what happened
I
behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, no. And
No,
again, that's
that's
the
what I want
beauty.
people, because after I was in one of the movies, they were like, "I can't believe you're in this," and I said, "Why not be in it?"
Why
Just
not?
what you were saying,
Why
it's
not?
being the light.
Being LA. Let me get. Can I guess which movie you're talking about?
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna say Puppet Master.
yeah,
Is that it?
that's it.
No, I want to see it. I do want to.
Oh,
I do want to see it
you know,
because I want to
it's
see your
just
talent.
people. It's amazing how ugly people can get in my inbox when that movie was coming out, and I'm like, I thought you knew me better than that, but apparently you don't. So
Right.
don't don't if you go send negativity to my inbox, you could do it in public for everybody to see it, because I'm gonna give you a response as to why I was in the movie and why I did. I say, because you don't know me like I thought you
Right.
did,
Right.
to one of the people, and I was like, this a person I thought really knew me, and they really didn't know me, because
Wow.
if they would have known me, they would know whether I'm in a horror movie, whether I'm in a secular movie, Christian movie, I'm gonna be me in the movie,
It's you.
on the movie set.
Right, absolutely right, and you take it with you. You take you into that
Yes,
set with you, and my goodness,
yes,
it's art. It's an art form, and not everybody appreciates all art.
that's true.
I just released my album on May 15th. This is not a plug for that. However,
You need to
if
plug
you want my
yourself. There
album,
it is.
get it. but
Yes, yes.
here's the funny part. It's like when you start reading the reviews.
Oh,
I know. It's like, don't read the reviews, Jason. Just don't read the reviews.
don't.
Because even though there's 80% that are singing my praises, there's always one that's like, the guy sounds goofy. He needs to
Yeah.
stop singing. Or, one was like, it sounds like a Disney film. I want whatever. Those stick in when you have somebody that you think knows you who says that, how in your own mind, Skeeta, and I think it's important for people to hear, how in your own mind can you separate the negativity that you've gotten from somebody? Because when I got that negativity, like, oh, the guy sounds goofy, I don't know who that person is, and I may sound goofy to them, that's okay, but how do you separate that negativity from somebody particularly somebody who you thought, and how do you go forward and how do you move past it?
This person probably thought I was gonna defriend them on Facebook. That's just not me. So I
Mm-hmm.
stayed friends with them. and I continue to post the things I post,
Mm-hmm.
and I see now that this person is coming back in, starting to like stuff, and because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, just because I'm in this movie, that doesn't mean I'm gonna change who I am as a person.
Right,
And
right.
I just kept being me.
So the internal message that you give yourself about that, though, I think that's what is important for people to hear from someone like you,
Okay.
is when you hear that, how did you not internalize that to believe it? Because you obviously were able to deflect
Yes.
and have a positive, strong mental outlook on that. So how help people understand how you make that transition in your mind.
It went back to something you talked about earlier. If I'm going to tell myself I'm ready to make a difference today, regardless of what goes on around me,
Mm-hmm.
I've played that same tape of making a difference in people's lives so much that when something else comes in, it automatically shoots it out. And
Yeah.
yeah, I may hear it and I may say, oh,
Yes.
you jabbed me a little bit coming from this person,
Yes.
but all of those positive messages of all those deposits I make in my bank
Right.
of, hey, you today you're gonna do something great. Today you're gonna make a difference in somebody's life that don't know you. Today
Right.
you're gonna do this, and those are things I live by every day. So
Mm-hmm.
when the jab may have hurt because of who it came from,
Mm-hmm.
but playing that tape of positive messages every day to
Yes.
myself, it
Yes.
overrided it, if that
Yeah.
makes any
So
sense.
that's beautiful, Skeeta. So you're talking about literally practicing on
Yes.
making those positive neural pathways in your brain work to where you can combat that
Yes.
momentary intrusion of an automatic negative thought. So we
Ooh.
can have them, right? We can have them, but because you've got this over here, you've practiced so much that you believe this part of it. You can take that. It hurts, but you cannot internalize it as truth, and you can move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It reminds me of one of the weirdest analogies I'm about to tell you.
Yeah.
A sister and brother came downstairs for Christmas. The sister came down first,
Mm.
and she saw the Christmas tree, and it was full of cow manure. And she
Oh.
was like, what kind of parents would buy their kids cow manure and put it under the tree?
You didn't talk to my girls,
Couple
did
sec
you?
couple seconds later, her brother comes downstairs and he said, oh my goodness, yes, 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 mom and dad finally heard me. And she was like, what are you talking about? That's cow manure. He said, no, underneath the poop, there must be a pony.
Oh.
And so underneath all of the muck and mire of this society,
Yes.
you have to be willing to dig underneath it and find the good in people.
Oh
And so the
man,
good
that's
was
good
he
stuff.
saw the he saw the pony underneath the poop, but
Yeah.
she just saw the
She just saw
manure.
the manure.
So perspective, having perspective, and I think to
Right.
that comment you and I were just talking about, he may have saw the manure, but I saw the pony
That's right.
under the manure of
That's right.
what can I do to get to the pony? If that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
That
I know
makes
it's the
tons of
weirdest
sense.
analogy.
No, it makes tons of sense. Tons of sense.
Yes.
Do you know? We were talking earlier about before we came on the air about a friend of mine in Houston, Cindy Cruz Ratcliffe, and
Yes.
she has an incredible voice. Just to hear her talk, sometimes people are just going, just talk to just talk. Could you just read the Bible to me? It's great, or read the back of a cereal box. We're just going to listen to you talk because her voice is just so pleasant. So she did a series of CDs called the Spoken Word, and where she
Wow.
does music that plays behind them. She talks about a scenario or a storyline, and then she goes back and backs it up by scriptures that help facilitate that type of thinking. And she's done one on
Wow.
perspective, and I love that. I love that whole spoken word album. But perspective, she talks about how when you're in a plane and you're taking off, and how you begin to fly up and you look down out of the window and you see all the things below you get smaller and smaller and smaller. She says, but in
Ooh.
actuality, they never change. It's just that you're rising higher to a different perspective. So the things that we see in life as unsurmountable really, when we're at that level, we can see how small and elemental those really are. You know,
Ooh,
isn't that beautiful? And then
you
talks
may have,
about how when
brother. I
we're
mean, you.
when we gaze our eyes to the skies and we're closer to God, He then
Mm,
helps us see that all of these things are very minor in the big scheme of things. And so I love the idea about perspective of not seeing the negative. Don't see the poop on the tree. No, because where
yeah,
there's poop, there's got to be something that put it there, and there's a pony, right? There's a
yeah.
pony.
I
And
love it.
I love
Hey,
that. You know?
you see what I'm saying? Stuff like this. You just gave me my next talking point for make a difference Monday. The
Hey, good,
motivational
good,
thing.
good,
You
good.
just gave it to.
Yeah, good. No, I love it. I love it because it is truly about it's about that. And you know, sometimes that people ask me, they're like, man, and you too. My gosh, you do all kinds of things, and I'm sure that you get this as well. It's like, you mean you work at the adoption place, and then you're an actor, and then when do you ever have free time? I don't know. You know, Skeeta, do you ever feel like you don't have free time, or do you feel like you're just doing what you're called to do?
Here's the crazy thing. I probably have more free time now than I ever had. When I was just working my job,
Do you
I
talking
probably
about
have more.
You talking about
Yeah,
perspective? Let's hear it.
yeah. Here's the perspective. When I was just working my job, I started to get burnt out.
Mm,
When the acting thing started, when I started doing my motivational stuff, I even pulled out some puppets I had when COVID first started and was
mm.
doing puppet shows for kids to give them something to watch. I feel more alive again. And I
That's so
feel
cool.
like there's so much more. I'm balanced now, if that makes any sense.
I love it.
Spending
Yes.
time. And then on top of all of that, I'm intentional about spending time with my wife and my girls. Even doing all of that other stuff,
Yeah.
you have you have to be intentional. Wherever you
Yes.
put your attention, that area will grow. So
Yes.
every area I put my attention, those areas are growing in my
Yeah.
life. And when everything around you is growing, I'm like, okay, my family needs to grow too.
Right.
And so I've been spending, you
Yes,
know,
and it's
don't get me
intentional.
wrong.
It's intentional,
Yeah.
and therefore you do it with purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
COVID, this is horrible for some people across the country, losing jobs,
Right.
losing this. But just like the pony story, okay, there's nothing I can do. I don't have the cure to cure it or to change it. What
Mm-hmm.
can I do in the midst of it? And it's
Mm.
reading my book on the back, spending time with the girls, practicing this, making sure I'm on top of my work at my job.
Right.
And I feel more alive now in the last 5 years than I ever in my entire life.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
know, and I love
balance.
and I love the perspective because I mean I think what I'm hearing there is the perspective is you're not getting
Yes.
busier, you're just living more to your full potential, and when you live more to that full potential, it just feels good and it's contagious. People want to do that.
Yes.
People want to jump on board with that. So yeah, I love it. Dude, we're gonna have to wrap. I could talk to you for another hour, but
Oh, me
I've
too.
kept you 2 hours already. But I would love at the end to if you had just two things that you think are the most critical that and we may have talked about a lot of them, and so it might be a repeat for you. But the two things that you would want to leave the listeners in the audience with tonight that help you through everything that you're going maintain a positive mental health, and that maybe that they could in turn do to stay focused with their positive mental health. What would those two things be?
The first one would be love people, regardless of what state, what attitude, what mindset they in. Love people because they'll love you back, whether they acknowledge it or
Mm-hmm.
not. Love people and treat them like you want to be treated. And the
That's right.
second thing is I think Romans 12:1 and 2, it says, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present yourself a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable
Right.
service. Do not be conformed to the things of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We have to renew our mind every day.
That's
Make
right,
a
brother.
difference today, just like
That's
you
right.
said. Don't say I'm gonna make a difference tomorrow. I'm gonna make a difference yesterday. Do what you can with the space you're given today, because as you can
That's right.
see, life is like a vapor, man. People are dying
That's right.
every day. You
That's
can
right.
lose your. Make the best of every day.
Right. Live in the moment. Yeah. Live in the moment and
Yeah.
love people. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well,
I
dude,
love that.
I'm loving that too. I'm loving everything about this, and I love you, brother. We need to have
Love you
those. We
too.
need to have the that sandwich soon. And for people who don't
Yes.
know that, we've been trying to get together and have the sandwich. It's a French fry hoagie, is what it is with brown gravy, and
Yes.
that just takes. That's just an English thing for me, and for you probably a Louisiana thing. And dadgummit,
Yes.
if that restaurant's not closed. So at my house,
Okay.
I will make a
Okay.
chip hoagie. All right, buddy. Hey, thank you
I'm gonna
so
hold
much
you
for
to that.
joining me. Was that?
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You're on the agenda. You guys are coming to the house.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, you too, man. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye bye.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and hope you enjoyed our time with Skeeta. Man, if you enjoyed it half as much as I enjoyed it, I know you had a good evening. Remember the things that he said: love one another, and do. It's all about our perspective in life and setting our mindset to it. If we can do that, we've got a good thing coming. Anyway, that's a wrap, guys. We'll see you next time on Shrink Wrap next Tuesday night at 7.
I'll give you a call.